Greetings and welcome to the IT Chronicles. I'm Charlie Betz, coming to you from Las Vegas at the Gartner Data Center Conference. I'm here with my co-host Carlos Casanova.
Charlie.
And Brian Reagan from Actifio. Brian, you are pioneering a product in the copy data management space. And I must say, when I looked at your company's profile and I saw those words, copy data management, I was a bit puzzled, and I've been a data professional. So can you tell us a little bit more about copy data management and what you're bringing to the infrastructure industry?
Absolutely, and it is a relatively new concept, and it's something that Actifio really in 2009, when the company was founded, started pioneering a new approach to data management, an approach that was really predicated more on the notion of virtualizing all of these copies of non-production data that sit in an enterprise and that burden storage systems and compute systems and operational processes. If we virtualize those and literally bring the same level of portability and flexibility and speed to access that VMware did back in the days for the compute layer, then we could really disrupt a lot of the traditional methods that we've made to make copies, manage copies, and ultimately use those copies for business purposes.
Very cool.
So there's, you said the speed and stuff, but it seems like there's a lot of potential opportunities there for organizations, whether it's from a scaling perspective or growth perspective, cost savings. So, maybe, you can speak to that a little bit more, more in detail as well.
Sure. So, if we flash back to 2009, the industry, all industries were essentially sitting in the shadow of the economic crisis, the financial collapse, basically. So all businesses had the mandate to save money. And one of the budget line items in IT particularly that was standing out in many of those budgets was storage. Yeah. People were spending an outsized portion of their IT budget on storage.
Sure.
And our founders actually looked at that and thought, well, why, when businesses are actually shrinking, is our storage budgets growing? What is actually contributing to that? And that's when they started to really dig deeper and look actually with the analysts as well to look at what is this phenomenon that's causing this incredible storage overhang in the industry. And it really was all of these non-production copies of data that were being generated for all of the right reasons, right? We make copies to back up for operational recovery purposes. We make remote copies for disaster recovery purposes. We make extra copies to feed our ETL processes to do analytics and warehousing. We make a lot of copies to serve our development, test, and QA functions as well. And so again, if we could actually virtualize all of those copies, deliver actually in many cases even faster and better access to that data without the storage burden, then we're saving money but also starting to move businesses faster.
That's very cool. I've been tracking the DevOps movement and trends, and actually test data management has come up repeatedly as one of the constraints to rapid and continuous delivery. It's not a simple problem. It's not a problem that's easily or cheaply solved.
Right. If you talk to any large enterprise, and I spend almost all of my time out with customers, they have this notion, particularly in the test and QA functions, where they want to shift left, right? They want to start catching more bugs before production because, frankly, they're far less costly, in many cases 10 to 100 times less costly than when they find them after production. And the way they can potentially do that is to actually start more parallelization in the testing process. Now, if every copy that I have to feed my development or my test and QA function is a physical, then there's only so many, just from a laws of physics standpoint, that I'll be able to do in a compressed period of time. Bring virtualization to bear, and now I can actually run multiple parallel test cycles without the infrastructure burden. So we're helping a lot of organizations in that shift left phenomenon. And from a DevOps standpoint, it's really easy to move binaries and JSON templates and all those little lightweight
little
things
bitty
around.
things, yeah.
When you have a couple terabyte database, though, that goes along with it, boy, that's really hard to move around with the same level of agility.
Data has gravity.
Data has gravity, although virtual data doesn't.
Very good.
So curious, you were just talking about that. One thing that I wondered about was, if you get into certain market spaces and whatnot, from security perspective, confidentiality, privacy, can you embed some of that logic into those references as to who can and who can't access those?
Great question. And one of the things that we talk a lot about, and in our deployment planning, we really spend a lot of time majoring on, we want to give, ultimately we want to provide self-service, but we want to do it with control. And control really comes in two flavors. One is let's embed your security and access control and all of the rights and privileges, whether you're using LDAP or AD or however you're doing that, let's make sure we adopt that. And our product merely and our platform really just adopts whatever security protocols you have inside. The second part, though, for control, and this is something that all organizations struggle with, is whether it's PII or sensitive data or what have you, consistently and in a very efficient fashion, masking or obfuscating that data before it gets into the developers.
And that's what made me think about it from a testing perspective. We always have that challenge.
Absolutely.
We need something that looks like it but isn't it.
Absolutely. So part of our automation platform embeds workflows where we can actually flag data as sensitive and make sure that a developer won't have access to it until it's actually run through an obfuscation or a masking process.
Oh,
nice.
Very cool. Well, that's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that I think leads right back to your speed thing, right? If you want to do some testing, we know those processes don't always move that quickly.
Right.
So that seems to give them a lot of flexibility to just spin it up and not be waiting on the data then with all the infrastructures sitting in play.
I was with the senior leader, an MD in a bank in New York last week, and we were talking about the processes before they moved to sort of an internal cloud to really automate a lot of this. And he said, we'd be lucky if a developer asked for something, if they'd get a copy of that data within months, because of just, and again, it wasn't the bit movement that took months, it was just the processes.
It's the processes, and you can't have that kind of latency with today's modern demands for digital, continuous digital delivery.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. One of the things that I certainly think about just in terms of the physics of it is the I/O challenge. I mean, when you're virtualizing, how do you maintain that speed? If it's not too, getting into the technical weeds too much.
No, not at all. And ultimately what it comes down to is the speed of the back-end disk is going to be the limiter on that. And that's one of the reasons why we started to partner with, we just announced a partnership with Pure Storage this past quarter. They have a tremendous platform that can deliver, those IOPS, essentially IOPS and parallel IOPS without a lot of compromise. And so with that ability to partner with companies like, leading companies like Pure gives us the ability to essentially remove that potential constraint.
All right, very cool. I'm sure there's a lot of data managers who are going to be interested in hearing more as you continue to evolve. Brian, thank you so much for stopping by. This has been a really interesting conversation. I know I learned a few things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Right.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it and enjoyed it.